Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Angelova, and I'm here to challenge everything you have been told about aging and wellness. This podcast is for those who refuse to accept that growing old means growing unhealthy. Each week, I will bring you dynamic conversations with inspirational guests, sharing practical advice, insights, and motivation to live your life rebelliously as you age with grace and vitality. This is your time to embrace self-care, transformation, and an infectious spirit that says no to the conventional and yes to a vibrant, powerful life. Let's dive in and redefine what it means to live well. Hi, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And today I have a super cool topic for you and a super cool practitioner with us, and that is Certified Advanced Rolfer, Libby Eason. Hello, Libby, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this program.
I am so excited you said Libby, and I'm so glad that we managed to match our schedules so that you can be here, because I think you do something that probably even as I introduced to people were like, what does she do? Who is she? Because I think there is not enough awareness out there about your craft, the craft of Rolfing. So before we dive into the magic of Rolfing, give us 3 words, Libby, that allow us the opportunity to get to know you. Like, who is Libby? And give us a little bit of a backstory behind each word.
Well, I can tell you how I came to Rolfing. Is that what you would like to know? Yeah.
Sure, you can tell us that. Yeah, tell us your story of how you got to Rolfing.
Rolfing sort of hit the culture in the late 60s. I heard about it in the early 70s, and I actually had it done in 1975. I got up from the table after an hour, and I alternately laughed and cried because I had no idea how restricted my breathing was. Mm-hmm. It was a big change. So what a lot of people don't know, when you have an injury, everything changes.
Yeah.
And even if say it was a sprained ankle, you're going to lean to the other side.
Yes.
You never come fully back to the middle. But so that things change and that the whole system changes. But the exciting thing for me about Rolfing and why I wanted to do it is you can use that plasticity of the fascial system to induce change in a positive direction. And that also is systemic over time. So that's where I got my start. I did the training in early 92. And now I've done an advanced training. I've taken the Feldenkrais training for 4 years. I've taken Rolf movement training. I just love to learn. So that's really important for me and about my profession. There are so many opportunities to learn more. So let's see what else. I have 2 cats and 2 little Italian greyhounds that live with me and my husband in the great city of Lilburn, Georgia.
Okay.
And I like being outdoors. I love walking. I am working with a personal trainer right now, my husband and I, to kind of get back into that routine again.
To stay young and mobile. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Libby, I think you make an excellent point, and you brought up the context of injury. And I think, you said we know that things change. I will tell you, based on my experience, I think many people don't understand that things change even after a minor injury. And I can tell you how many people have come and I'll ask them, well, any prior injuries? And then they'll go, no. And then I'll look at them and I'm like, did you have something happen to your hip? And then they'll go, no. And they'll go, well, 20 years ago, yes, I just did this. And it's like, aha. And it's because, and part of what I do is I have to educate people about this, is once something happens, or even if you sit too long in a chair, right? The way your body, your posture changes, the way your alignment changes, if you don't restore the, what's the term that you used? You didn't say the structure. You said the structure.
Right.
Changes. And I think we don't realize that, unfortunately, until sometimes aches and pains start showing up and people go, well, I'm just getting old. And yes, wear and tear is normal into the body. That will happen. However, if there are other things such as an injury, right? And it doesn't have to be a major injury. But like you said, you did something to your knee, suddenly you start avoiding that leg because the knee hurts. That changes everything into the body. And if that doesn't get corrected over time, we get in trouble.
Right. And the other thing to recognize is that repetitive use does induce a kind of injury. Your body is, everything in your body is surrounded by a substance called fascia. And pretty much everyone has heard of that now since the first Fascia Research Congress here in Boston in 2007. But fascia, I'm going to demonstrate here. You have the
Those
skin.
of you in video, watch.
You got the skin. You've got a subcutaneous or below the skin layer of the fat that keeps you insulated. It's supposed to be there. And a sort of what I call bubble wrap. It's the fat in that loose connective tissue. But then there's what I call the body stocking layer, which is everywhere from the top of your head to the ends of your toes and fingers. It is a continuous wrapping, a body stocking layer. But going in from that all the way down to single muscle fibers, they are wrapped in fascia. So you have what some people would say is you have one muscle in 600 pockets. It's the stuff that forms the pockets that we can use to reorganize your structure so that gravity is your friend and not your enemy. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So I hope that's a helpful description. You can find tons of pictures of fascia online.
I love the analogies that use the bubble wrap and the wrapping. I think that's very visual. And I will tell you, Libby, and we have had this conversation because I came to see you after I had my recent surgery, is I went into my surgery in tip-top shape, super flexible, super mobile. I had the surgery and oh my gosh, I had tightened up so much to where I was literally shocked. And I think I shared this with you when I'll do my side stretching. Literally, my ribs felt like they were glued with, glue, and I was trying to unglue them apart. And the one question that, I'm always puzzled about is how do people go through life without doing any of the work that you and I do? Because
uncomfortably, very uncomfortably.
Yes, because I'm like, how do people not do restorative work after whatever happens? And it is, I will tell you, I first bumped into the terminology of fascia when I first had a client with a diastasis recti. And that's when I first started reading into fascia and I did the anatomy trains. And then actually I bumped into Rolfing actually through one of my fascia teachers. And while I was looking for a resource for a friend who had just gone through a C-section. And that's how I actually got to meet you, because through my research. And then I was like, oh my goodness, what is Rolfing? And then I had the privilege to be a body for you for a whole training session, which was so cool to learn. And again, I don't think enough people know about Rolfing. So if people are listening, they're like, wow, I've never heard about that. And I think you're right. Most people have heard about fascia. I don't think that many people understand the implications of having a healthy fascia. But who are the people who would benefit from Rolfing? Like, who are the people who usually find you?
I think the bottom line, as stated by a colleague of mine, what is in common amongst all the different kinds of people and conditions those people have? What's the common thing that they want? Change. Change. So do I want to be more flexible while I'm running? Like I worked with one man a long time ago, his fascia, that body stocking layer, it was completely inflexible. So fascia has both regular fibers and elastic fibers. With repetitive use, like he was doing, running marathons, that gets tough. And this is not a perfect analogy, but it comes to look more like beef jerky instead of beef. Okay, it's dehydrated by that repetitive movement, and sitting still is repetitive movement because your postural muscles and fascia are making tiny movements all the time. And that is a repetitive movement. So when you get up and you can't really straighten up all the way, or you feel that pull that says, yeah, right, I've been sitting too long. Well, that's cumulative. But so that's one kind of change. I've had people bring their children who had scoliosis. I'm working with a young teenager now who is in high school and playing a sport. And had a knee problem from an injury. So we can do a lot to bring things back to their normal, more fluid motion. And yes, all the movement work you do is fantastic. Love it. But there are some things that you're not going to get to the same way as doing the Rolfing series. So Rolfing is the original form of structural integration, and it's just how it sounds. We take the structure and we integrate it. We lengthen the things that have gotten bound. We work with the left and right side balance, the front back balance, top bottom balance, inside outside balance. So we're looking at a very 360-degree hologram as formed by the fascia, and how can we make that more resilient again? And how can we help those things? Because injuries, scar tissue, its job is to knit things together. So while fascia has regularly arranged fibers, an injury, a knitting, is just like it sounds. They're irregularly arranged. You can do something with that.
Hey Rebels, I want to take a quick moment to share something super exciting with you. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or just know there is more to life than what you're experiencing, I have something special for you. I have created a powerful 6-step video series called Unleash Your Potential, an introduction to the Angelova Method. As a valued Mind-Body podcast listener, the series is my gift to you. In this series, I will guide you through the core elements of the Angelova Method, a unique approach that integrates movement, mindset, and mastery to help you align your body, mind, and life. You will learn practical techniques to improve your alignment, boost your core strength, and connect deeply to your inner self. Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, gain mental clarity, or simply live more fully, these videos are designed to get you started on the path to your most vibrant self. And the best part? It's completely free. So if you're ready to break through barriers and unleash your full potential, head over to mindbodyexpert.com and get started today. Let's take this journey together, because you, my rebel, deserve nothing less than the extraordinary.
And you know what? I think a very important point that you make is, I actually think the work that you do and the work that I do is very complementary, which is why I have sent so many people to you. And I think that's an important point for people to distinguish, because sometimes people say, well, I see this person, so why do I need to see that person? It's because we are approaching the same problem from a different perspective. So like, I have started integration movements that allow the fascia to release, but I don't do any kind of manual work to release fascia, the type of work that you do. Right. And I will tell you, you gave a great example with athletes. Oh my goodness, if athletes, especially the ones who like use heavy weights, use high intensity and repetition, if they have improper compensations into their body, my goodness, to get them out of those compensations, it takes a lot of work. And I have a client who is doing like massage, physical therapy. She sees me, chiropractic, and the list just keeps going on, because those compensations, I think one word that you use that I love is fluidity. I would say right along with it goes the word mobility, because I think the example you gave of somebody standing up and it's like, oh, like you feel stuck, like you can't straighten up right away. It's things start locking up. And then your body is not flowing and moving the way it is meant to move. And that's where, the type of work that I do, we have to keep things mobile. But even if I stretch your muscle And that's part of like another part of why I got interested in the fascia system is I can stretch your muscle and then I'll find out, whoops, it gets pulled back again. Why? Because like you said, the example of, let's say, scarring, right? It just keeps tugging on it and you can stretch it all you want. But if you don't restore the quality of the fascia, you're not going to get lasting results.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's super important for people to understand that there is a reason why we integrate all these body techniques. And Libby, the other thing that I love that you mentioned is you said inside and outside balance, which is something I work on. Can you tell us a little bit more about like how Rolfing in particular would help with that?
Yes. So when I'm working doing the Rolfing structural integration, by the way, there are other schools of structural integration. Yeah. We're the first, and as far as I know, we have the most hours of education, and we have the 50 plus years of history to have developed our curriculum, which most of the newer schools don't have. So we have the school that Dr. Ida Rolf founded.
Okay.
And so we're working with a series of sessions. Yes, you could come in for one spot for one injury, but as I like to tell people, if that worked all the way, I wouldn't be in business. What we do is a series of sessions. We start with that more outer, getting more resilience in the outer body stocking layer. Then we're working on the deeper postural muscles and fascia, which, guess what? When the surface layers are more resilient, getting to the deep layers isn't a problem because you have access. And then we're balancing that inside outside. So you have what Ida Rolf used to call core and sleeve. So there are sleeve muscles that are more about doing, reaching. And then you have core muscles that are more about support, like the psoas, which is in constant motion, even if you're sitting. Particularly probably if you're sitting. So we're looking at how those things interact. Can you initiate a movement from the core and take it out through your sleeve? Then it's supported, it's fluid, it's easier than when you're fighting against a tight sleeve. So
I'm literally like getting excited as you speak because we speak so much the same language.
Right.
Is the way I explain it to clients is you have the deep stabilizing muscles and you have those more superficial muscles. And most of us are learned to just function from all of these superficial muscles, and the deep stabilizers is, as you're going through the motion and you're not intentional, you're not even tapping into those muscles. So, and then if we have bad habits along with that, it just creates an environment of havoc, so to say. So I love how you explained it. And again, it's two different modalities addressing the same issue from a little bit of a different perspective. I love that. Libby,
in an ideal world, everyone would go through the Rolfing process, but continue the rest of their life with movement work.
Yeah, it's super important. Libby, you mentioned that the certification that you offer requires a lot of hours. And I think that's something else that's worthwhile noting, because I'll tell you, when I did, for example, my Pilates training, I went to a very intensive training program, not like 3 days of training and here I am certified, right? Which is what we see, unfortunately, a lot of in the, I would say, fitness, wellness space, bodywork space. And I was very intrigued from a professional perspective of what you do. And I inquired about the program just because I wanted to enrich my education for what I do. And then I was like, whoa, that is intense. And I think that's another thing that is very important for our audience to understand, that when you're doing this kind of deep, profound work to the body, it is very important to go to people who really understand the body and who are not just repeating exercises or just repeating like this is how you move your hand, but they understand the body. So can you tell us a little bit more of, when we're looking for a Rolfer, we do have people who are local, but we do have people nationwide, actually, even internationally, who listen to this.
Oh, great.
What?
I'm glad you asked, because rolf.org, rolf.org, has that website has at the top find a Rolfer. You can click on that and you can click on your area or even your state. Like if it were Georgia, I would say, click on the state, not Atlanta.
Does it see? Yeah.
Because then you'll see everybody who's in the state, and there aren't that many of us here. So that's the fastest thing. There, like I said, there are other structural integrators that you can find from other schools, but if you want a Rolfer, go to that.
Qualified Rolfer. Yeah. And I do want you to also mention you have an upcoming training, which I think is your only second one in Atlanta, right?
Right.
So for people perhaps like me who want to enrich their skills, or, one thing you were very clear with me, you told me is don't do a Rolfing certification if you don't want to Rolf. So for people who are like, oh, okay, I want to Rolf, I want to learn more about that. Where can people find more information about your upcoming Rolfing session? It's an intense one. It's almost like 2 years, right?
Well, if you go to Boulder, where the main campus is located, there's a 6-week phase 1, 2-3 weeks off, an 8-week phase 2, 2-3 weeks off, an 8-week phase 3. So that is intensive. That's the way I did my training years ago. What I am going to do in Atlanta, so that it is more accessible to more people, is 1 long weekend a month. So instead of 22 weeks almost blazing straight through in the training, I am going to do 1 long weekend a month. So it's the equivalent of 1 week of training once a month. So people can have the other 3 weeks, basically, to be with their family, do their job, et cetera, have a life, and do the training at a pace that's a lot more manageable for a lot more people. So people with kids, they're not going to Boulder for 2 months at a time.
Yeah.
But here, you can do that. So it would start in, I'm planning to start in September. And then it's about 22 months later, it should end in July of 27.
27. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a much more realistic pace for a lot of people, and it's local.
So let's then talk about twofold benefits. One, benefits from somebody who goes through the full course of Rolfing as a client, as a patient. And then let's talk about people who go through the training program as professional. What do they expect as a result of that? So like twofold.
Right.
Patients, trainers.
Right. So clients.
Yeah.
A Rolfer's clients are going to go through a series. Of course, it's not required to go through the whole series, but people usually do.
I recommend it.
Yes.
I recommend it.
So the thing that's bothering you, from my point of view, is where something ends up. It's not the problem itself, or at least not the whole problem, even if there was an injury there. Everything else in the whole, remember the 1 muscle and 600 pockets? All that fascia is constantly remodeling in terms of your movement. So as you go through limping along or whatever happens, surgeries, C-sections, knee injuries, everything. So over the course of the 10 series, and I actually a lot of times do 11 or 12 sessions instead of just 10, we are allowing each layer to become resilient again, to be able to move again, and then balancing in gravity how that structure stacks up and allowing it to move freely, fluidly.
Yeah. And I do have to say that when I did I think I did 10 or 11 sessions. Every session you were doing the full body, but you were focused on a particular part of the body. And that also reminds me of something I tell my clients is like, because they'll say, well, this hurts. And then I'll go to another area and they'll say, well, that's not where it hurts. And I'm like, yes, because I'm not going after your symptom. I'm going after the root cause of the problem. And what I tell them is a dysfunction in one place of your body will result in a full body dysfunction. So what I love about the 10 session, and that's what I'm saying, I totally think if somebody's considering, they should consider the full course, is because you address the entire body and what's happening. Because you know what? You might have an issue, and next thing you know, it's in your neck. And you're like, well, I don't understand how those two are related. They're very much related because the fascia, the body is integrated. It's one system, it's one structure. So yeah, I say you have to be consistent, right? You can't just address one small part and then let the rest be where it is, because
right.
to have the same powerful impact.
Changes propagate through the whole fascial system, whether they're positive changes or negative changes. They're going to propagate through the whole system. And what the series of the Rolfing series does is start sort of unraveling the things that have gotten compressed, condensed, immobile, and allowing normal, natural movement is a better word than normal, natural movement to reemerge. The ability to sit up without having to work at it. And then you ask, if I may, about what someone can expect from a career as a Rolfer. For 33 years now, I have been working as a Rolfer. I've worked for myself the whole time, which I really like. And most Rolfers do, not all of them. Some work in a setting like an athletic club, or I know I have a colleague recently that talked about working for an athletic club in Denver, or in a chiropractic office. I was in with a colleague of mine who is a chiropractor for a while. I didn't work for her, but rented space for her. That's a good place also. But pretty much I've been an independent professional, and I like that. I like having say over my schedule. I like
freedom.
Right. The freedom. You're speaking of rebellious. That is rebellious. Not working for somebody else. And it's been successful for 33 years. Like last year, I had a 6-month waiting period for someone to get in, and I've restricted my practice this year somewhat, and don't intend to make myself quite that restricted to a schedule again. But you have the option of being your own boss, of setting your own fees, of every session you do, people leave in better shape than they come. They don't always feel that right away, but this is very rewarding to me. Somebody comes in, sometimes with serious injuries, sometimes with more moderate injuries, and sometimes just wear and tear from a lifetime of whatever they've done. So having that to go home with at the end of the day is really awesome. I'll just say it's awesome.
You know what? I hear you, because I love my job exactly for the fulfillment and satisfaction of somebody comes with back pain and they leave going like, wow, my back feels amazing. My knee doesn't hurt. My hip doesn't hurt. I love that. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but Libby, I don't think Rolfing is an area that's like really saturated with practitioner. I think there are few practitioners out there, so there's not much competition out there for Rolfing.
No, in Atlanta particularly, the Atlanta area is about 6 million people. We have a grand total of 3 full-time Rolfers, and one that's on maternity leave right now that was working some in Athens and some in my office, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we really, really, really need.
There is demand.
We need more people, making the world a better place, one body at a time.
Yeah, literally with you.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Libby, I do have to ask you, what is your definition of rebellious?
Self-employed, getting to decide what I want to do, getting to go to lots of continuing education opportunities, being able to be with people one-to-one in my office, helping them reach their goals of feeling better, functioning better, and having a better quality of life. It's so rewarding. And, I've worked in office settings in the distant past. I didn't have that. I didn't have that kind of satisfaction. And, you can become a Rolfer whether or not you've ever had any experience working in another bodywork profession. You can become a Rolfer. A lot of people do. but that's my definition of rebellious.
Love it, love it. The freedom of doing what you love to do and what brings you satisfaction, and meanwhile impacting lives.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Libby, where can people find you if they want to reach out with questions, if they want to read more about like the work that you do, your certification? What is the best place for them to find your social media website?
Well, my website is libbyeason.com, LIBBYEASON.com. You can find look at rolf.org for the training, but I'll have a link to that on my website as well. On Instagram, I'm Libby Rolfer, and on Facebook, I'm Libby Eason LLC.
Okay.
So those are my.
We'll make sure to post all of those links as well so that people can.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Rebels, you know the spiel. Any questions you have, ask them. Reach out to Libby, follow her on social media, find out more about Rolfing. If you're dealing with anything, explore it. And you know what? Get curious about all of the modalities that are out there, which can help you feel better in body, mind, and spirit. And with that, stay well. Libby, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Do not forget to stay rebellious. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Mind Body Podcast, where we explore the power of living authentically and rebelliously. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebellious soul who would love to hear what we share as much as you do. Stay strong, stay calm, and most importantly, stay rebellious. Until next time, rebellious souls, keep living fully. Your journey is just beginning.